At exactly 4:44 a.m. local time on December 12, 2025, on the frozen approach to the Crimean Bridge, a Russian convoy worth $500 million is sitting in the fog. The engines are idling. The drivers are drinking coffee. They think they're in the safest place on Earth, protected by the world's most dense air defense network. They are wrong. These trucks aren't carrying soldiers. They are carrying the Kremlin's last hope. Custom-made hydraulic parts to fix the broken bridge by Christmas. To Vladimir Putin, this convoy is a bandage for a bleeding artery. But right now, the physics of their safety are about to be rewritten. In exactly 6 minutes, this $500 million lifeline is going to melt inside a fireball reaching 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The asphalt will turn to glass. The steel will turn to liquid. If you have ever asked if there is any way to destroy a bridge that has already been blown up, this is the answer. You don't hit the concrete. You burn the repair kit. But to understand how we get to the inferno, we have to look up. Rewind to 4:35 a.m. High above the heavy gray clouds, invisible to the naked eye, the hunters have arrived. Meet Ghost. If you remember the pilot who slid 2 U.S. guided bombs onto the deck of the bridge last week, you know him. If you thought he flew home for a quiet retirement, you are wrong. He reloaded. And this time, the mission is not to punch a hole, but to erase a supply line. The weather is perfect for Operation Get Out of the Sky. A dense, freezing fog covers the Kerch Strait like a bowl of cold milk. Visibility is near zero. 32 miles out, cruising at 15,500 feet, 9 Ukrainian Dovbush T-10 heavy drones navigate silently through the cloud layer. Don't think of them as simple quadcopters. Think of them as the Amazon Prime delivery trucks of the sky. They are heavy lifters, their bays packed with a deadly cargo. With a mechanical hum, their belly hatches open. They release 46 fixed-wing FPV gliders into the slipstream. These gliders are a masterpiece of frugal engineering. They have no heat-generating engines. They open their wings and ride the wind currents, saving battery like a Tesla in eco mode. They are cold, silent, and invisible to thermal sensors. They are a swarm of ghosts. Far below them, skimming just 50 feet above the whitecaps of the Black Sea, Ghost is back in his office, the cockpit of an F-16 Block 50. He is moving at Mach 0.8, strapped to a 50-foot aluminum tube filled with jet fuel and high explosives. The G-suit squeezes his legs rhythmically. Under his wings wait 4 GBU-39 small-diameter bombs. He is not flying on instruments. He is flying on nerve. At this altitude, a single rogue wave or a moment of distraction means death. The target is 14 miles away, the bottleneck where those 30 Kamaz trucks are piled up. But standing between Ghost and that convoy is the villain of our story, the S-400 Triumph. On paper, this system is a monster. Its 92 N6E gravestone radar can track 300 targets simultaneously, creating a 260-mile no-fly zone. It is the reason NATO pilots lose sleep. But tonight, the Russian operators inside the command vehicle are staring at a nightmare. Suddenly, their screens light up. They don't see 50 little plastic gliders. Because of the intense electronic jamming beaming from the Dovbush motherships above, the S-400 thinks it is facing an entire fleet of B-52 Stratofortresses. The radar screen looks like a Christmas tree having a seizure. False targets multiply, shift, and vanish. The computer screams warnings of a massive strategic bombardment. The Russian air defense commander in Crimea is experienced. He sees the chaos on the screens. He knows the bomber fleet is a digital ghost, a trap Russia has fallen for too often. If he keeps his main radar active, he lights himself up like a beacon for every anti-radiation missile in the Black Sea. So, he makes a ruthless, calculated decision. Kill the main radar. The massive S-400 goes dark. The strategic shield is down. The war is instantly transferred to the short-range Pantsir S-1 units protecting the checkpoint. Switch to electro-optical, the commander orders. Find them with thermals. Kill them visually. On paper, this works. In reality, he just asked his men to perform a miracle. Asking a Pantsir operator to find a plastic glider inside a thick fog bank using a thermal camera is like trying to find a mosquito in a dark room using a laser pointer. Why? Because today, Mother Nature is wearing a Ukraine jersey. The dense fog acts as a thermal blanket, scattering heat signatures. Even worse, the FPV gliders don't have hot jet engines. To a thermal sensor, they are basically flying ice cubes. The Pantsir crews stare at gray static on their monitors. They are blind, but they are desperate. They see shadows moving in the fog. The commander authorizes the launch. 57 E-6 interceptor missiles shoot off the rails, hitting Mach 4, racing toward the soup. Let's pause to look at the price tag of that trigger pull. Each Russian interceptor missile costs about $1 million. In seconds, they just fired $4 million worth of high-tech munitions at a cloud. The result? 2 missiles lose lock immediately and explode harmlessly in the water. One manages to clip a glider, turning a $500 piece of plastic into confetti. Vladimir Putin just swapped a Ferrari for a skateboard. But the volume of fire is a problem. The Pantsirs switched to their twin 30mm autocannons, filling the sky with a wall of lead. The sound is deafening, a continuous, ripping roar. The pack takes hits. 5, maybe 6 gliders crash into the sea. Ghost watches the fog light up with angry neon whips of tracer fire. He grips the stick tighter. The Russians are blind, yes, but they are swinging wildly with a sledgehammer. And just as the glider swarm is about to be decimated, the fog above the checkpoint turns orange. The war has gone from a chess match to a knife fight in a phone booth. The Dovbush motherships transmit the Delta pattern command. 42 surviving gliders stop loitering. They fold their wings. They pitch down. From harmless floating toys, they transform into 125 miles per hour kinetic missiles diving into the jaws of the Russian guns. The Russian reaction is violent. The Pantsir crews set their guns to 5,200 rounds per minute. Tracers form a literal ceiling of hot steel. The first 11 gliders disintegrate. Plastic and copper evaporate. But the sheer physical mass of the swarm overwhelms the defense. A Pantsir turret rotates at 100 degrees per second. The drones are coming from 360 degrees. Servos whine and overheat. The gunners scream as they try to track multiple targets. Boom! One glider slips through the curtain of fire and smashes into the command vehicle's windshield. Another hits the missile rails of the western battery, detonating munitions ready to fire. The 30-ton vehicle flips like a dead bug. But the Russians held an ace. "Barrier!" the commander screams into the radio. "Deploy barrier!" Suddenly, 4 Tiger M vehicles hidden near the convoy discharge their payloads. Not bullets, but canisters. They explode in the air, releasing a dense, glittering cloud of conductive aerosol. This is a metallic fog designed to short-circuit electronics and block RF signals. The effect on the cheap commercial gliders is disastrous. As they fly into the silver fog, control links break instantly. Video feeds go dark. Cheap processors burn out. 20 gliders drop from the sky like dead birds, crashing harmlessly onto the asphalt, rolling next to the targets they were seconds away from destroying. The herd is dead. The sky is clear. And this leaves a perfect target on the board. The Russian commander, smiling through the smoke of the battlefield, points a gloved finger to the low horizon. "Kolchuga M, activate passive sensor array." This system emits no signal. It hunts. It listens for the faint electronic heartbeat of Ghost's radar altimeter. Inside the F-16, the cockpit goes from silent concentration to a rave of warning lights. Ghost's blood runs cold. The unknown source light turns red. He is not just detected, he is triangulated. The S-400 battery in Kerch roars back to life. 248 N6DM missiles launch from the vertical tubes. They don't need a radar lock to launch. They are wire-guided to his grid square. These monsters accelerate to Mach 6 in 4 seconds. They cover 12 miles faster than Ghost can blink. He has just revealed himself, and he has 2 telephone poles full of high explosives screaming his name. Normally, this is the part where you eject. You pull the yellow handle and pray. But Ghost doesn't reach for the ejection seat. Instead, he does something crazy. He pushes the throttle past the detent. Afterburner. The General Electric engine ignites a 32-foot blue flame, dumping raw fuel out the exhaust. He isn't running away. He is attacking. He accelerates toward the missiles. 650 knots. 700 knots. He is playing a game of chicken with physics. Why? Because he needs kinetic energy for the toss. At 4 miles out, the S-400 missiles enter the terminal phase. Their onboard radar seekers activate, painting him with lethal energy. The cockpit fills with the screaming tone of a hard lock. Ghost screams through his oxygen mask and pulls the stick into his gut. The F-16 goes vertical. In seconds, he climbs 5,200 feet, transforming his immense speed into altitude. This is a loft maneuver. When the nose pitch exceeds 44 degrees up, the flight computer calculates the release solution. This is pure math. Speed plus angle plus gravity equals orbit. 4 GBU-39 bombs detach from the pylons. Launched with the jet's massive acceleration, they describe a curved trajectory upward, arcing toward the stratosphere like artillery shells. Now Ghost is naked. He floats in the sky, slow and helpless, a perfect target for radar, seconds away from being hit. The lead S-400 missile is closing, but high above, the 2 Dovbush motherships receive a final override command. They dive. They don't attack the Russians. They drive into the path of the missile. They set their electronic warfare pods to decoy mode, mimicking the signature of a massive B-52 bomber. The missile's logic processor screams, "I am the target!" It falls for the trap. It interacts with the strongest signal source. A massive fireball erupts in the sky above Ghost. The shockwave slaps his F-16 downward like a giant hand. The flagship drones are vaporized, sacrificing cheap plastic frames to save a $60 million fighter jet. Ghost levels out just 52 feet above the Whitecaps, fighting the controls. He is alive. His heart is pounding against his ribs, but the Russians at the checkpoint aren't watching the fleeing jet. They are watching the explosion and cheering. The Russian commander sees the fireball, considers the falling debris, and believes he downed the F-16. He orders his men to stand down. He has no idea that 4 precision-guided bombs, released seconds ago, are falling silently toward their heads. Right now, correcting its flight path with microfins, the GBU-39 is not aiming for a tank. It isn't aiming for the radar. They are aiming for the 3rd truck in the convoy, the truck with the green canvas carrying industrial oxygen tanks. 3, 2, 1. Impact. The bomb punches through the engine block and explodes in the cargo bay. The explosion is blinding white. The oxygen tanks rupture, releasing a massive cloud of pure oxidizer that feeds the initial fireball. The temperature spikes to 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit in a millisecond. Then, the fuel comes into play. The shockwave smashes the convoy of trucks lined up bumper to bumper. It cracks the casings of hydraulic fluid barrels in the next truck. The atomized fluid ignites in the oxygen-rich environment. It is a chain reaction. Truck after truck explodes in the air like a string of firecrackers, but each of those firecrackers is a 20-ton vehicle full of flammable cargo. The checkpoint is erased. The expanding fireball engulfs the nearby Pantsir battery. The sensitive radar panels melt like wax. The missiles in their tubes cook off, adding solid rocket fuel to the inferno. It looks like the sun is rising in the wrong place. The Christmas gift for the Crimean Bridge has been delivered. The hydraulic couplings are molten slag. The convoy is a smoking scar on the face of the earth. Ghost heads home, disappearing into the fog. He checks his fuel. 800 pounds. Perfect. He keys his mic, breaking radio silence for the first time. Delivery complete. Don't wait up. Let's pause for a moment to look at the numbers that tell a story propaganda can't hide. Let's look at the relentless math of the scoreboard. Debit. Ukraine spent approximately $1.3 million. This includes jet fuel, 4 GBU-39 bombs, a flock of cheap FPV gliders, and 2 sacrificed Dovbush motherships. Credit. Russia lost a convoy with an estimated value of $500 million. But frankly, the dollar sign is the least of Putin's problems right now. The true calamity is time. The hydraulic couplings weren't common parts you could buy at Home Depot. These were massive, custom-designed steel components that had been smuggled through the maze of sanctions over months. Replacing them isn't a matter of writing a check. It will take at least 6 months of desperate secret deals and production time. This means the Crimean Bridge, the main artery feeding the entire southern Russian front, will remain a single-lane bottleneck for the next half-year, effectively on life support. Every tank, every artillery shell, and every liter of diesel fuel going to the trenches will now have to take a long journey through the muddy, partisan-filled roads of the mainland. By destroying 30 trucks, Ukraine didn't just win a battle. They successfully blockaded an entire army group. While amateurs talk tactics, professionals talk logistics. Today, Ukraine proved they are professionals. But here is where it really hurts Moscow, the part that will keep generals awake at night. This attack demonstrates a fatal, systemic flaw in seemingly impenetrable air defense networks like the S-400, the Pantsir, and the Kolchuga. They spent billions of dollars to build a fortress designed to fight NATO bombers. They built 10-foot steel walls to stop a tank. They have no answer for a horde of $500 plastic drones, paired with air combat tactics older than most of their generals. They built billion-dollar shields to stop bombers, and ended up swinging hammers at mosquitoes. Ukraine has turned asymmetry into a discipline. They forced Russia to burn its most expensive missiles on ghosts, blinded its sensors, and then struck the jugular from behind. The S-400 batteries are still standing. The Pantsirs are still rolling. But what they were meant to protect is gone. And a bridge without repair parts is just concrete waiting to crack. This is the real turning point of the night, not the cost, time. Russia spent months assembling this convoy, moving parts through sanctions, middlemen, and shadow routes. Ukraine erased it in minutes. That single fact rewrites the balance. Because now the question isn't, can Russia defend the bridge? It's this. Can Russia afford to lose every critical logistical move the moment it appears? Was the Crimean Bridge ever a symbol of strength? Where does the system break next? That's the question Moscow is waking up to. And it's the question that will define the next phase of this war. If you want to keep following how small tactical decisions reshape entire campaigns, and how modern wars are really being won, make sure you're here for the next file. Because the weakest link hasn't been hit yet.